right, so we're back on the W.A.D.E concept presented by The Ring, and I didn't cover this last week because I was out of my office and I was paying attention, but not necessarily, so I guess we'll have to go back to it now, even though this has been the most painstaking, annoying, dragged by its hair until there's really no care by anybody in the world about this fight, but realistically, we still all do care to a certain degree. Actually, no, we all care. We care, but it's just exhausting. KSI Jake Paul has been brought up once again in Big 2025, in both promoters, Mams Taylor and Nakisa going at it. And we got a little bit more information as to potentially what could be happening here and how close we are to making a fight happen here. But realistically, we still don't have a fight for a lot of reasons. Let's go to them. The breakdown. Let's go. Folks, real quick, I want to pause the video to say a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Because Father's Day is around the corner, and my old man, he doesn't necessarily care too much about big-time gifts or anything like that. What he does care about is the way his lady looks at him on a day-to-day basis. And he don't have the heart to tell me to get him something nice when he goes out with the wife, but I'm going to do it anyway because Manscaped is taking the guesswork out of Father's Day this year by allowing me to upgrade my dad's grooming game with the Beard and Balls bundle. That's right, Beard and Balls, featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and the Beard Hedger, the dynamic duo. And you don't have to be shopping for your dad, but let's just say you are, or your partner, or hell, even yourself. This is a 2-in-1 gift to give to keep you looking sharp above and below the waist. The Lawnmower 5.0 has a 75-minute runtime on one charge, and let me hear that purr. My goodness gracious, there's no rush, no stress. Now, the Beard Hedger has a 60-minute runtime, and it's great for stubble, a signature beard, and everything in between. Both devices are waterproof, allowing for convenient use in the shower or cleaning up afterwards. So you got the best of all-in-one grooming. The Beard Hedger is going to take care of your upstairs, and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is going to take care of everything else below. And you can take advantage of Manscaped Beard and Balls bundle today by using code WADE15 for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. That's one more time. Go to manscaped.com. Use code WADE15 for 15% off your entire order. So whether it's a day at the office, a night out, or just a well-groomed day at home, Manscaped has you, your partner, or your dad covered this Father's Day from face to balls. His skin will thank you, and so will everyone else. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. And now, let's get back into the breakdown. All right, so like I said, after Misfits 21, this week you had everybody on kind of an influencer boxing resurgence high because that's what happens when Misfits puts on a card. Everybody, you know, has questions, and Misfits 21 was a good card. And I thought brought a lot of value to what they're trying to do. So naturally, the fan base, everybody gets riled up. They're like, okay, we're back. You know what I'm saying? Here we are. Let's go. And to a degree, I agree that influencer boxing is, you know, somewhat back in the forefront because of the likes of Darren Till and potential matchups for him. And, you know, you have some things circulating, but at the same time, there's a lot more questions than answers, which is, you know, par for the course for all this stuff. But inevitably, when influencer boxing gets a resurgence, you're always going to get that conversation of what's next for the two biggest names in influencer crossover, whatever you want to call it, boxing, KSI, Jake Paul. And I guess this kind of all kicked off with Mams Taylor responding to someone in KSI Twitter, which always is going to be a good idea to do because, you know, following the call to responding to it usually means that things are going to go well. Not really. Usually when you respond to KSI Twitter, things go to the absolute shitter. Bars. But he did. He said, someone named LRob26 said, yo, Mams, Nakisa, and, okay, what is this? Nakisa and his witch nose, what the f*** are we talking about? Said that Till loses to Mike Perry in boxing and T-Wood in boxing. I'd say those are perfect next fights to shut that shit up. So, okay, I guess Nakisa actually started this when he was responding to Darren Till's performance, saying that Till loses to Mike Perry and T-Wood in boxing. I disagree. I do think Darren Till beats both Mike Perry and Tyron Woodley. He probably smashes Mike Perry up a lot like Jake did, but maybe even more impressively because Till's in shape. And T-Wood, it's 2025. I think that Till would smoke him too. Like, I don't see T-Wood being a problem for Darren Till right now in boxing. Mam said, let's run it. Till versus Woodley, Misfits versus MVP. Winner gets the weight for KSI versus Jake, 190 versus 192 down. Okay, so this is interesting. Mams has said that Till versus Woodley is Misfits versus MVP. Woodley represents MVP. Till represents Misfits. And then the winner gets to decide the weight. Now, Woodley is an MVP. I know. He would just be, because he fought Jake, the ipso facto representative. Now, number one, I'm going to let you guys know, this would never, no, this is not going to happen. Right? This is never, ever, ever going to happen. Nakisa doesn't go for shit like this, right? Nakisa does not do the, like, let's do this so that this determines it. No, it's all going to be very formulaic, very by-the-book contract business-like. That's what Nakisa, he runs a business, and that's how he runs his business. Mams is very much more like theatrical, entertainment, you know, do it out in the public, and then what happens in the public or what happens in this stipulation becomes part of the contract, that kind of thing, right? They're just two different guys when it comes to this. Now, if you're an influencer boxing fan, you like this kind of thing because Mams is doing it in a way that, like, brings in a stipulation, but also does it in a fight. So you have already built another fight for influencer boxing. But if you are, again, on the other side and you're Jake and Nakisa, they just don't do stuff like this. You know, the interesting part of it, though, is the 190 versus 192. So this is essentially Misfits, Mams, KSI saying they are willing to make 190 pounds. It was for a long time. I mean, how far do we want to go back? It's been 7 years of us doing this. 7 years trying to get this fight done. But I think originally it was supposed to be like 180. Then it was 185 now. But you see, Misfits continues to push their end of the bargain. Like 180, okay, no, not going to happen. 185, 187.5. Now they're at 190, and 190 is where I said the fight should have been made. I do believe that Jake can make the weight. I believe that because I'm pretty sure he said he would make 190 for Canelo or something like that, right? Or Nakisa said that. So I do think that Jake can make the weight. Do I think it's easy for him? Do I think it's going to be comfortable? Do I think it's going to be something he wants to do? No, absolutely not, especially since he went up to 230 or whatever it was for Mike Tyson. But for one fight, I think Jake could do it. For the right money, the right price, all that stuff. That's why Jake has said he'll come down for Canelo, because he values Canelo. He'll come down I think he said 195 for Gervonta Davis, which we'll get to that in a second, because he values the Gervonta fight, even though that'll probably be an exhibition, and that's an insane fight that makes no sense. But my point is, Jake has made it pretty comfortable and pretty clear that he wants to be at 200 pounds for the rest of his competitive, I'm chasing a championship boxing career. So to come below 200 to 190 is going to be a very difficult thing to ask for because of, I guess, what they've stipulated they want to do with him and where they want to keep him weight-wise. He can do it, but he's only going to do it if the money is there, if it's substantial to them, if the value is there to them. And I've said this the whole time, they do not value the KSI fight like Misfits do. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing or whatever. Like, however you want to look at that, make your own mind up. Does Jake have bigger fights than that out there? Potentially. But to me, it's the fight I want to see most. But it doesn't mean that that's the most valuable fight for Jake to them. Like, if you're talking Anthony Joshua, if you're talking, let's say he beats Julio Cesar Chavez and you can get him into a title fight, like somehow, some way. Nakisa decided he was going to clap back. By the way, Nakisa has his own Twitter now. This is good. We get Nakisa on his tweet saying, "Dear Lord, you'll do anything for a few clicks. So let's be real then. Wasserman has had the offer/contract for 15 days. So apparently, MVP sent over to Wasserman, which is a big delineation. Stay with me. Nakisa does not want to deal with Mams. This is clear. This is why he continues to reference Wasserman, not Misfits. Nissa and Kali Sauerland, not Mams Taylor. He wants to deal, again, through what they consider the actual business partners of KSI's boxing side, Wasserman Boxing. He does not want to acknowledge Misfits, doesn't want to acknowledge Mams Taylor, even though he kind of is by quote tweeting him here. He says they've had the contract for 15 days. Now, this was on May 17th. So they had sent it over on May 2nd, which I assume, I'm not sure why that's the day they decided to send it over, but I have to assume it has to do with KSI taking time off and them going, okay, if KSI is going to take time off, this is the time to start talking about this fight, because you don't have him getting into another fight soon. You don't have him fighting, Dylan Dennis. I'm pretty sure KSI is going to have hand surgery. But then you see December 24th as the date here. That date is not official, but that's the date that they have put in this contract. This tells me that they looked at KSI taking that time that he's going to take off here for hand surgery or whatever. to say, let's do this now before they book another fight. But anyway, here was their stipulation. 10 rounds, 192.5, 18 by 18 foot ring, which is I think the same one that Ben and Eubank used. Full VADA program, not like the limited testing you did with KSI and Tommy. Okay. December 24th, Christmas Eve. That's pretty interesting. MVP in association with Wasserman. Again, not acknowledging Misfits at all. If that doesn't work, good luck against Mayweather or whoever other massive fight you have for KSI on Misfits. We wish you all the best. December 24th is an interesting date because that's Christmas Eve. Like, I don't know how many people are going to be paying attention to boxing on Christmas Eve, but you do have Christmas Day for the NFL, for the NBA, stuff like that. But I just don't think I've ever heard of a Christmas Eve boxing match. Maybe there has been, but I don't know. Most of the time, you're kind of with your family. You're kind of doing stuff. But if they did it on Christmas Eve, people would watch. I mean, people would watch if they did it on February 30th, which is not a real day. You get what I'm saying? But it's a Wednesday. That's even more interesting. I couldn't care less what the date is. I think that people would watch because it's Jake and KSI. Now the casual fan, I don't know about, but this one sells itself on whatever day of the year, I guess. So that's not a massive thing to me. The big stuff I take away from that is the 18 by 18, the 10 rounds, and obviously the weight. He still doesn't want to acknowledge Misfits, so that might be a problem. The 10 rounds is something Jake has continued to do. KSI's never fought past 6. So they're not going to jump him from 6 to 10. That's not going to happen, y'all. Unless he has a fight in between where he has an 8-round fight, they're not going to go 6 to 10. So I would say right now that's another thing where it's like, okay, I don't see a reason Jake and them wouldn't come down to 8, but I think that JJ, like, he has to at least do 8. He has to. And if he doesn't do that in his next fight, they're definitely not going to do 10 for this. And it would be another reason why this fight wouldn't happen. KSI has to come back, have a fight with somebody before a Jake fight, and do 8 rounds. He has to. So, Mams says, hey, man, we sent you an offer too, and you insisted we redline yours. Yours is one-sided, ours is fair, and clearly a real attempt to make the fight actually happen. Our offer, KSI versus Jake, coin flip for ring walk order, MVP to promote it as Jake versus KSI, and Misfits to promote it as KSI versus Jake, with DAZN alternating. Okay, that seems massively complicated. Ridiculously complicated. How would DAZN alternate? I guess like for a press conference, one's going to say KSI versus Jake and the next one. But at the end of the day, you're going to have on fight night one thing on the thing. If I'm Mams, I just have to concede that it's Jake versus KSI. I think that just has to be the concession. He says USA, full VADA testing, 190, 8 rounds, 20 by 20 foot ring, co-promoted down the middle, 50-50. That's fair. Both promotions to mutually approve all costs and undercard fights, etc. Okay, so let's just stop there for a second. It's in the USA. I almost think it would do better in KSI's backyard. I think that it would just, for the atmosphere of it, for, like, you want Jake to be a villain in this thing, and he plays that character way better than JJ does, just because people genuinely don't like Jake, at least I think more so. I think putting it in the UK is a better idea. If they do it in USA, like, that's fine too, whatever. I just think, man, they could really get some people to the arena in the UK. Like, they could get a stadium sold out there. I'm not sure about the US. I know they could sell a big thing here in the US, but the UK would be crazy. Then we have 190 pounds. I mean, yeah, we're talking about 1 kilogram. Someone's going to have to make a sacrifice, and I genuinely think it's going to be KSI again. And I keep saying, KSI, you gotta. Realistically, that's the only way it goes down. And I hate to tell you guys that, but that's the truth. The only way this fight happens is if KSI and Misfits make more concessions than MVP does. That's it. I think that the biggest thing they could get out of this is a 20 by 20. I could see MVP going, all right, fine, 20 by 20. I could see them going, okay, 50-50, cool. But they're going to have to give up 190, I think. I think KSI is going to have to be 192.5. I genuinely think that. Those two things, I think they're going to have to move off of in order to actually get this done. I think if they move off these two things and say, cool, 192.5, cool, 10 rounds, then this stuff, 20 by 20, co-promote, whatever, like all these little other things can be worked out pretty easy. If you really want to make the fight, if you really think that your guy is going to beat him no matter the concessions, you give up those two things, and the fight's yours. You don't give up those two things, and Jake still is going to go and fight whoever. Now, this could change. Let's say Jake loses to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Things can change very quickly. But as it stands right now, and if he does beat Julio Cesar Chavez, they got to give up those two. In my opinion, your contract as MVP as lead promoter in charge of everything, and you put Wasserman Boxing USA as a side promoter. FYI, Wasserman Boxing USA does not even exist. You purposely omitted Misfits as an ego-based mind game tactic. Come on, man. Let's give the people what they want. And not let egos get in the way. We have a duty to our clients and respect due to the fans that we made. Weight has always been the number one issue. Since you're so confident Woodley wins against Till in a boxing match, let's gamble. Let's put our money where our mouth is. P.S. I don't care about clicks, but I do care about making this fight long overdue. Okay, I agree with all of this stuff. Like, yeah, Nakisa's being a little petty when it comes to naming Wasserman, because Wasserman does run the business end of this. So he's taking a shot by being like, yeah, you know, MVP Wasserman, not MVP Misfits. And I do think that Mams is genuinely trying to make the fight. And I think that Nakisa genuinely is his offer is a genuine one. But it's just who's going to budge. It's a game of chicken and who's going to budge. And the person that budges, by the way, is not weak for budging. In fact, it's bravery to me. The person that budges and genuinely concedes the thing they don't want to concede is an act of, you could call it, you know, desperation. You could say it's you know, you got played by the art of the deal, brother, like that kind of thing. But to me, it's an act of bravery to say, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to take the disadvantage. I'm going to talk about it with Chris Eubank Jr. We just talked about it in his fight a couple weeks ago. Took the weight disadvantage, took the rehydration clause, took the fines, took all that stuff, went in there, still won. Somebody is going to have to do that. And the person that does it, I think it should be considered an act of bravery. And, like, again, it will show that they want the fight, my opinion. Anyway, Nakisa says, not engaging in a back and forth, we proposed our terms to Wasserman on April 4th, and the offer that followed was those exact terms. Jake Paul wants to fight KSI. He does not need to fight KSI. Jake has campaigned at 200 plus since December of 2023 and plans to continue it that way with the intention, winning a world championship by the end of 2026. Okay, that's interesting. But this is kind of what I said. Jake has decided he wants to fight at cruiserweight, and jumping up and down in weight is not a good idea if he wants to actually win a world title. So for him to do that, Jake, Nakisa, and MVP need to see this fight at the number they want. Otherwise, they have other options. And by the way, neither guy needs the fight. Let's be clear here. Neither guy needs the fight at all. I see this thing online where it's like, oh, KSI doesn't need it. Or Jake needs KSI because without boxing, Jake has nothing. That's not true. And I'm going to tell you in both respects, it's not true. KSI only needs Jake because that's what he said he would come back to do. But as far as boxing, KSI doesn't need to do that. We've talked about it. He has the prime. He has the Sidemen. He has the Britain's Got Talent. He has the music. He has the YouTube, right? He has the new soccer league, whatever. But Jake doesn't need KSI. And quite frankly, Jake doesn't need boxing. He doesn't. People act like Jake's going to go broke if he stopped boxing today. That's not going to happen. Jake has some, I don't know what the thing is called, some investment fund thing that I'm pretty sure he just cashed out on. He's got the W. He's got the Celsius deal. He's got the freaking Doghouse Burgers things. He's got the Better Gambling Company. He's got all those things as well. Both of these guys have diversified outside of boxing. So let's not act like either of them needs to do at all. Boxing, period. Let alone boxing each other. If we get this fight, it will be because of the reason we always wanted this fight. These two dudes don't like each other, and they stepped into a ring to prove it early on, and we're still 7 years later waiting on the damn answer. And this is why I said this. Mams put out this tweet, Jake doesn't need to fight KSI. KSI doesn't even need to fight. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, neither does Jake, right? They don't need to fight. Jake has a plan to fight for the world championship. That's his goal. Just like KSI's goal in boxing was to fight Jake. But neither of them need to do it. Jake's just made more money doing it. That's all. That's where we're at with this whole KSI, Jake Paul situation. And this is why I said at the beginning of the video, we're not any closer than we were. Maybe we're closer in weight. Maybe we're closer in terms of the ends of their careers. But we're not closer to getting this fight on paper because where they get one step closer in weight, they get 2 steps further in ring size. 1 step closer in rounds, they get 2 steps further away, and whose name's gonna go first. It doesn't make anybody happy when these things go on publicly, because all it does is both promoters put out tweets and they galvanize their base, and it pushes them further away versus sitting down at the table and actually making a deal. That's what we need. We need them to sit down and make a deal. And if they can't do that, then just don't do the fucking fight and go your separate ways and stop teasing us, right? Stop putting it in front of our faces and saying, look, this is what's going to happen. Look, we're talking about it again, because 7 years later, nothing's happened. No one's done any groundwork. We're not any closer. And until we do see some actual light at the end of the tunnel, I don't want to talk about it, because why? That's where it is, man. I don't think we're any closer to KSI, Jake. And also, we have to factor in that the KSI has a hand surgery coming. He said this at Misfits 21. You know, hand surgery is no easy thing to get over. Slim had hand surgery 5 months ago, and it doesn't feel like he's still recovered, right? So how long that takes could even factor into this. I think if it's going to happen, it'll be in 2026. I don't see it happening in 2025. If we go into another year without it, we'll be on year number 8. But as I sit here now, do I think it's going to happen? No, sorry, guys. I don't think it's going to happen. And that's only because I don't have reason to. No one's proven to me that they're willing to make the sacrifice necessary just yet. KSI's team, it looks like they're doing more of the sacrificing. And honestly, they're going to have to get this thing done. They are going to have to give up more than Jake and them are. And that's just the way it's going to have to be. Oh, yeah, we could bring in the big guns. I didn't even mention this. We could, on the way out here, we could bring in the freaking big guns himself to finally get this thing over the line.
Hello, His Excellency, are you there? Hello?
Hello?
We could bring Turkey Shake in himself to come in and sort it, but I don't know what happens here. Do they make the fight happen? Does it happen in 2025, 2026? Don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.